Mercedes truck and cars capitulates to Tesla is our story for today. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks for joining us once again. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, like some better ideas on investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. So I wanted to also note that the front half of the show, as usual, is what's going on currently, and the question mark is what are we looking at forward in this. So there's a interesting story that popped up a few days ago. The CFO at Daimler was describing the fact that, and Daimler Trucks, not the cars, they're two separate companies now. There was an effort on their part to get a look at the Tesla Semi. And I heard this and I was like, whoa, that's weird. Why? Because as you may recall, Martin Daum, the CEO, had described the fact that, they were outselling Tesla when it came to electric vehicles. And therefore, he didn't think there's anything that Tesla could tell Daimler that they didn't already know. But in essence, they indicated that, yeah, if they could get a hold of them, they wouldn't buy one, they would buy two so they could drive one. And look what they're missing out on round two. Mr. Daum, current CEO of Daimler Trucks, also made a really interesting comment to me when he said that, look, if the Tesla Semi actually works to the specs that they've described, approximately 600 miles in range, usable 500 miles of that, and they were able to meet the weight specifications for hauling freight that's consistent with an ICE vehicle, then all of those parameters suggested that that was an incredible vehicle that could not be matched by Daimler, and they would love to see it. And here's, wait for it, this is where the incredible comment pops up. Mr. Daum also said that he doesn't understand how this could happen because physics works the same way in Stuttgart as it does in Silicon Valley. So now that comment was made approximately 4 years ago, but guess what? They haven't closed the gap in terms of their trucks are still operating in a 300-mile range, and they have not been able to close the gap on the Tesla Semi, which I've been stunned by. So the thrust of our conversation today is capitulation. So as you probably know, Daimler went from a plan with their EQ series, where it's going to be a large part of the company and a large part of the thrust. After competing with Tesla in that space, they actually disbanded that and are still putting EQ on the back of vehicles, but it has been downscaled dramatically because of poor sales. That's in Germany and everywhere else. So in my mind, that switch in behavior was a capitulation to the fact that Tesla has excellent products, and unless they can offer the customers a much better experience than what Tesla's offering, it's a waste of money and time for both the company and potential customers to pour resources into that. And so they're continuing to work to have a presence in electric vehicles, but they're also maintaining their ICE, where they have a great reputation and have been certainly dominant. The problem that's popping up is something called BYD. The Chinese have done a terrific job of going to Tesla's factories in China and replicating everything they were doing so that they could bake it into their own EVs under a number of brands, especially BYD, and then start shipping those vehicles out globally, targeting in particular the United States and Europe. The US has kind of shut them down with 100% tariffs, but Europe is sort of moving in that direction as well. The Chinese have moved forward with plans to build manufacturing facilities, I believe in both Hungary and Poland. But they've got so much money that one would not be surprised to see them start building elsewhere rather rapidly. So this is kind of the backstory to what brings us to make this a topic of discussion today. I have to say that I'm really worried. And the reason is that Germany is the largest economy in Europe. It also relies on the auto industry, both the vehicles you see as well as the part suppliers, et cetera, to provide almost half the jobs in the country. And the issue in the ICE world, maybe not in the EV world, is that there's a 7x multiplier. So for every person that has an auto job, there are 7 people. There's the lawyer, their banker, their restaurateur. There are all these people who rely on that revenue as part of their ability to be and exist in the German economy. So my worry is, wait a second, if both Tesla, in a portion of it, and then all of a sudden BYD et al. Rolls in and snaps up all of these sales, those VW has already started shrinking dramatically and sending work offshore. And the last count was they got rid of 80,000 people. This trend is likely to continue because they're really not offering sort of competitive price and products to what Tesla is doing. And so they're in a very, very bad position. So it was my belief that I'm kind of shocked. Germany, as well as Daimler, as well as BMW, as VW, have been great brand names for the last 100 years, 100 plus years in some cases, and they've rolled out some great cars. But when it came to the transition to electric vehicles, they've been left scrambling, and the latest round is that I think the count is at $6 billion that's been spent by Volkswagen in order to leverage their relationship with Rivian to actually bring in the software necessary to improve how they provide products in the electric space. So it's good that they're spending the money. I'm surprised they didn't just buy the company, because it might have been cheaper to go that route rather than make large multi-billion-dollar investments in Rivian, where I think Rivians are nice vehicles. They have a lot of Tesla people that work there, so there's a lot of similarities. I'm suffering kind of what I call brain freeze, because Rivian sells their products, particularly the four-door product, at about $79,000, and their costs are running $125,000. So I'm always like, how is this going to work if you're losing $25,000 or $30,000 on every vehicle? I guess the economies of scale over time will take care of itself, but that's a lot of losses to keep eating over time before you get to profitability. And one wonders, can they stay in business? So in general, I would say that I definitely think one of the German manufacturers will go out or be merged into the other. The issue, though, is that for the life of me, I can't figure out how or why it is that they've been unable to not be interested in looking at Tesla's activities in trucks and other vehicles, because they have great solutions that are at or better. The problem right now is consumers have an interesting behavior profile, which is, unless you're offering a dramatically better alternative solution to what's being offered by Tesla, let's say in this case, then there's no incentive to switch. So no, these people aren't buying Teslas and they're mad at Elon. But at the same time, for people who do want to go to electric, or who are being forced to, perhaps in parts of Europe, because the cost of fuel is so high, you now have the potential for Tesla to continue to grow, even if they have a hiccup related to Elon's behavior. So overall, I'd have to say the fact that the CFO of Daimler Trucks is interested in getting a chance to spend some time with the Tesla Semi, I think is stunning, because if they've been given an 8 or 9 year window to match what Tesla's doing and have been unable to do it, is mind-blowing given how much money they have, how much engineering talent they have, etc. But now that we continue to move from sort of mechanical parts, etc., into the world of chips and software, it should not be a shock. But what it means is that you might want to take a look at the stock price of particularly VW, but some of the others, and whether or not they aren't going to start dropping fast as the semi comes in, and then the trend of folks rolling towards Teslas continues. So hopefully we figure out a way to get maybe an equal battle going here, but unless they figure this out, I just think that it's a complete disaster for Germany and for their major makes that they can't come up with a solution. And BYD is a bigger problem than Tesla because they have lower cost than Tesla does. So long-winded statement to say, I smell capitulation by Daimler as our conclusion. And I think they're not as vocal from the other companies, but VW is capitulating in its investments in Rivian to try to get a solution in this realm. And BMW is doing some nice products, but they still have a software disadvantage to Tesla in this case. So we look forward to bringing you more information as we know more, but I hate the capitulation because I used to have a BMW and I thought it was a fun car, and there are a lot of jobs that depend on their success that we'd like to see continue because it could end up destabilizing multiple countries in that space. Once again, I want to thank you for joining us relative to our discussion of the Tesla capitulation by Daimler and others. We also want to next look at our health tips. I like to roam far afield, so I wanted to encourage you today to look at one of my doctors recommended something called vitamin B12 or B complex. Take a look. I'm taking it daily. I'll update you on what I think of it. My experience thus far has been positive, but I was thinking that it might be something for you to consider as well. Once again, thanks for joining us today. Tschüss, au revoir, Heathrow, Hoda Hafez, Drasi Hama. And in Jamaica, we say, enough respect, walk good man. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and bye for now. We finally warmed up in the greater New York area, and the Knicks fans are going nuts here, so it's pretty cool to watch finally a winning team in New York. Have a great day. Bye for now. Thanks once again for joining us. I like to add little things at the end of the show that I'm experimenting with. If you look behind me, you'll notice that we've got, along the hedges, we have what's called mint growing there. So most days of the week, I actually go and clip off just the top of the mint bushes, and it's more of a weed, but it's been awesome to have fresh made mint tea without pesticides that grow, and they keep regrowing all through the summer. And I'm including some video here so you can see how the whole process looks. But all I can say is it's fantastic, and wanted to encourage you to consider it in your gardening process.